All right, good morning. I can see there's a couple people on. How's everybody doing this morning? Oh, I'm great. We'll see how this turns out today. How does it look on your end so far? And how is the volume from my microphone? All right, perfect. Well, we'll see if anyone else decides to show up. I'll give them another minute or so, and then we'll have a little fun scanning, enumerating, and running a penetration test on a computer. See what we can find out. That should be interesting. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna switch over here. Moving over into, of course, a favorite tool for all this, which is going to be Kali. So I got Kali running on another computer over here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up a vulnerable box for us to play around with. So I'm going to use one from Hack the Box called Blue. And right now you can see that I'm not connected. So my first task is to get connected via VPN to this vulnerable machine. And when you do that with Hack the Box, they use OpenVPN. And if I go over here to my directory in Kali, I can see that it added a lab_vikingchess.ovpn. And that's what I'm going to use to set this up. So we'll type in the top secret password. And now I can see that my initialization sequence has completed. So I am successfully connected to the VPN. And my next task is I need to leave this running in this particular window. If I close this window or I put in another command, it's going to disconnect me. So I'm going to go ahead and file and put a new tab in here for me to work with. And now I'm going to go back over to Hack the Box, and I'm going to tell it to go ahead and turn on this machine. And I'm just waiting right now. Looks like we're connected. We've got an IP address. Right here, it still says it hasn't connected to the VPN, but sometimes that lags a little behind. So we'll just go ahead. Oh, there we go. Now it's green. We definitely have lab access. So in my new tab, I'm just going to go ahead and try to ping that machine. And yeah, we do have a connection, so that's good. So we got a good start. So we don't know anything about this particular machine to get started with. So the place we're usually going to start is just with a simple scan. And I'm just going to use our favorite tool, Nmap. Whoops. And we're just going to do a quick scan. You're going to see that Kali's going to try and repopulate these commands. obviously I've worked with this before, and I'm going to take advantage of that and save me on some typing on occasion. So that we did a quick scan of this just to see what's going on. Our usual suspects aren't there. We don't see Telnet, so we don't see FTP, don't see 80. But we do see 139 and 445, which, if you recall, those are SMB ports. So that's going to give me the first clue on what's going on here. And SMB has a lot of known vulnerabilities, but one of the things we would like to know right now is the operating system that it's on. So let's run another Nmap scan and try to collect a little more information about this machine, and indeed see if it is see what its operating system is. And that's going to give us a few more clues on what we can do here. So here we go. Oh, and I think I just realized it's probably going to tell me I need to put sudo in front of this, but we'll get that in a second. And here's what we're going to do. So this is going to give us more details on this particular machine. Yeah, as I said, I need to put sudo, so we'll just do the old shortcut. And here we go. All right, so we got this off and running. So there we go. We're hoping to get a ID on this particular operating system. But we do know already that SMB is running on it. So let's just try, and we're going to open another tab while that's running. And we're going to try just to see if someone was silly enough to leave the anonymous SMB open for us. If that's the case, this is going to be a pretty quick, because we'll be able to log in with just anonymous and no password. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to use this SMB client. And this is going to try to identify if there's an anonymous user, but it's also going to give us a enumeration of all the users on the machine that are using SMB. Well, there's not an anonymous user, but we did gather a little bit of information about it. We can see it's disabled, so we're going to have to find another workaround on this, and hopefully our Kali is going to come, or our Nmap is going to come back with a little bit more information. All right, let's go back through here and see what we can find. Ah, there we go. We captured the operating system. So now we know it's Windows 7 Professional Service Pack 1. And we can see that there are several SMB services running. So the next thing we can do, since we know it's not anonymous, but we still know that SMB is running and it's Windows, if we take advantage of Nmap, and I'm going to switch over screens right here, we can see that on the options for Nmap, if we roll down a little bit further, and I know this might be small on your screen, but it has some particular scanning just for SMB. And built into Nmap, it has some scripting just for that. And I'm going to pull the scripting over here next. So there's our options. And built into Nmap is a scripting engine. Now, if we were doing this ourselves right at the moment, we would go ahead and research and read through this fairly lengthy write-up. But I'm going to tell you that there are a built-in script to look for specific SMB vulnerabilities. So we're going to go ahead and implement that next. And I'm going to switch back here to my Kali. So a third Nmap scan. This time we are going to run about the same command, but we're going to add a script onto the end of this. See if there it is. So now you can see T4 is the speed, the port is 445. We're looking at Nmap vulnerabilities for port 445, and it's going to run the scripts for those vulnerabilities against that IP address. And we'll go ahead and get that started. And I expect that this time we're going to get some fairly interesting results from that. There are multiple vulnerabilities for SMB. So we'll just hang on a second and see what it comes up with. Making sense what we're doing so far? Well, we're about halfway done. It's starting to deliver some interesting information for us. All right, finished up. So let's see what it found. All right, I'm going to have to scroll up a little bit here. Grab the little scroll bar. And now we can see, here's what it found. In particular, CVE 2017-0143, and then down here, MS 17010. So those are vulnerabilities that it found on here. Well, of course, the next thing we would do is we would use our friend Google, right? And we'd start looking up what some of these are. And I'll bring this over. So here's some details about this. Here's 144, which is also closely related to it. And here's 143. But what we're most interested in, and if we read through these, we'd see these are both, I think this one, the one is like an 8 or a 9 on the CVE score, right? Yeah. So they're both very highly scored. But this MS 17010 is rated critical from Microsoft from 2017. And if we read through this article, we can see that it's very easy for someone to get into, or as we would say, get a reverse shell on that machine if this is not patched. And right now, we identified through Nmap that indeed the machine we're trying to work with has not been patched. And if I did a little more research on the internet, I would find that there's a lot of articles been written about how to take advantage of this vulnerability. And there's two ways you can do it in particular. The first, and probably the most common way that this is actually identified and then testers exploit it, is through the use of a Metasploit. So Metasploit has built-in tools for this, including a scanner and exploits and all that. But I'm going to do it a slightly different way. So of course, if we were an analyst, we would dig through all this, and I'm not going to read all this, obviously. It's many, many pages. But if I did just a little more research on the internet, I would find that there is a GitHub repository with programming. I think it's written in Python for the most part, that will allow us to do the same thing without using Metasploit. MS17010 exploit code. And as I read through here, it's going to tell me exactly how to use this. It's been around for a while. It was originally written for Python 2, but it works fine in Python 3, as we'll find out. And this is the usage of it. So all this is pretty much documented on GitHub. So as I mentioned before, GitHub has a lot of repositories for these kinds of things. So I'm going to switch back over here to my Kali box. And if I wanted to, of course, I can download this, and there's the command for it. I would just type Git Clone, and there is the website address of the vulnerability, and .git, and it would download it into the directory that I am located in. Now, I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm just going to switch over to my download. And if I do a quick list, you'll see that there it is. That's called AutoBlue MS17010. And if we want to work with this, which we do, our first task is to run the shell code, which is going to set up the reverse shell. And it's actually, well, first I need to change directory. So let's do that. Let's go into AutoBlue. There we go. LS. And now I'm going to change directory into this shell code. And if I check in here, it's got some files, but there's this one that's called shellprep.sh. So that's a script written for Linux. And if I want to run it, I'm going to put a period and a backslash in the name of it, and it's going to run. And now it's going to ask me multiple options on here. And I'm not, I'm going to go, yeah, do you want to do this? Yes, we do. What is the host for the reverse connection? Well, we need to know the IP address of this computer that we're working on here. So I'm going to dump over into this other tab, and I'm just going to do IPA, and I can see right here that this is the IP address, 10.10.14. So I'm going to flip over here, and I'm going to put in, here's my local host, 10.14.13. There we go. And now it says, what port do I want it to listen on? We're just going to go ahead and use 443. And we know that that port is usually going to be open on most firewalls. So we can go ahead and take advantage of that. And it asks us also for a 32-bit version. So we'll go ahead and use the same port. And now it says, do I want to get a reverse shell for Metinterpreter or just for a generic one? And since I'm not using Metasploit, I'm going to choose a regular command shell. And when I use that, we need something called a stageless payload to go along with that. So that's going to be a 1. So now this is running out. It should take just a minute, and it's going to create an exploit that we can then send over to our vulnerable machine. So we'll just give it a second. It looks like we're getting somewhere. Patience, right? Once this gets set up, and there we go, got the shell code done, I'm actually going to flip over to this other tab I was working with, and I need to turn on another program to capture the reverse shell. And the program I'm going to use is NCAT. Now, in the most recent version of Kali Linux, NCAT isn't installed by default. I'm not sure why, but if I wanted to, it would be sudo apt get install NCAT, and I would get it. It's already installed on this machine, so I don't have to do that. I just have to tell it to run it. All right, so I tell it NCAT. That option is for reverse shell, and 443 is the port I wanted to listen to. And that's the port that we set up in our payload options. So I'm going to hit it. Oh, forgot to add sudo. There we go. There we go. So now it's listening. Perfect. So our last step right here is to run the actual exploit. So I'm going to go up one level, and if I do an ls in here, we can see that there are several Eternal Blue exploits. And one of the things we did to begin with is we discovered what version of Windows was running, and it happened to be Windows 7. So we see Eternal Blue Exploit 7, which is created for Windows 7. So I'm going to go ahead, it's a Python code, so I have to type Python 3, the name of the exploit, and the exploit takes in two parameters, the IP address of where we want it to send the exploit to, and a binary file with the payload that executes the reverse code, and that was created when we ran the shellcode. So there we go. Got it. It says success. If I flip over to Kali, or over to the NCAT window, now you can see it's updated, and it says C:\Windows System 34 or System 32. And if I type the who am I command, it tells me I am logged into this Windows 7 system with NT authority. So now I can roll around in this computer, and I can do a directory. Hey, look, I can get into all the user files. And in this particular box, they want you to find a file located on the desktop of user Harris. So here I can see Harris, so I can change directory over to that. Oops. Did I type it wrong? Oh, I'm not in the users. CD. There we go. So I go on. There it is. And if I go to Harris's desktop and do a directory, the file they want us to find is the user.txt. There it is. And we can look in the context of it just by typing user text. And all that's in it is the words user text. So on Hack the Box, then I would go, that's the flag. That's the flag that I would type in to the Hack the Box, and then I have completed it. So how was that for getting into another computer? What did it take us, 25 minutes? So it's just good practice, and I think one of the things that would come to light out of all this is you're going to try it later? All right. One of the things that comes to light from all this is that just practicing with Nmap and some of these things, you get a better idea of their capabilities and where to use them. I believe from what I saw, if you used Metasploit, it would be, yeah, I think it's recording, and it doesn't seem like it's a train wreck, so I am going to post it on my channel. Of course, if it was a train wreck, I might not put it out there, but I think it worked out just the way I had hoped it would. Yeah, so that's going to wrap it up. I think I'm going to do more of these in the future, kind of like this. I'm not sure I could do it every week, but we'll see. Um, it's good to see, and more importantly, hopefully, it gets you to practice a little bit on your own, because that'll be the best case scenario. Well, thanks for joining. I'm not sure how long it takes before this will post to the to my channel, but as soon as it's up there, go ahead and rewatch it. And yeah, I had a good time, so we'll do more of these for sure. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here, and see you all later.